Duplo Expresso.
Hi, my name is Wellington Calasans and this is Duplo Expresso, your weekly news program about the political and democratic situation in Brazil. I'm talking from Stockholm, Sweden, and my colleague and co-host Romulus Maya is in Bern, Switzerland. Romulus Maya, what are the latest political news coming from Brazil?
Hello, Wellington. Hello, viewers. It's great to have you back for another edition of Duplo Expresso. In this week's comment, I'd like to draw our viewers' attention to confirmation that has been coming out lately of some of the controversial things that we here at Duplo Expresso have been saying for well over a year now. Namely, that Lula was betrayed by some key members in his own party's leadership, the Leftist Workers' Party, or PT, and how this betrayal was instrumental for him being in jail for over 13 months now. First, last week we witnessed a public clash between former President Lula's attorneys and a group of individuals with legal background close to the current Workers' Party administration. These people came up with an exotic and roundly inaccurate legal thesis summed up in an article published in almost every blog with ties to the Workers' Party, saying that President Lula's defense attorneys should file for a specific type of appeal which, if granted, would allow him to leave prison immediately. Or so went the article. Problem. On the one hand, none of the authors have any training, background, experience whatsoever in criminal law and prosecution. On the other hand, legal scholars from the field were quick to dismiss this individual's thesis, if we can call it that, stating that not only it did not make any sense legally speaking, but even if it did, it would work to Lula's detriment and not in his favor. If granted, the appeal would actually allow the state to keep him in jail for longer. In view of this, Lula's lawyers rushed to advise their client against it. And what came next? Well, one of these individuals, with close ties to one of the Workers' Party elected state governors, filed a suit with the Brazilian Bar Association, pressing charges against Lula's lawyers, claiming that they were not acting diligently or in their client's best interests. This, of course, is one of the most serious offenses a lawyer can incur in. And, if that were found to be the case, could even result in Lula's legal team being prevented from working as lawyers permanently. So how can we make sense of all this story? Lawyers with ties to the Workers' Party current administration putting undue pressure on its founder and most important leader, former President Lula, with sloppy advice and openly and formally challenging his defense team, his defense attorneys. The picture is not entirely clear at this point. There are several hypotheses. For instance, one of the individuals from this group is believed to be, from the outset, after fame and recognition. She would only be using Lula to this end. And with a considerable degree of success, it must be said. No one knew this person 2 or 3 years ago. She was mainly referred to as some lawyer's ex-wife. Now, after organizing and publishing a compilation of critical articles on Lula's conviction trial, she was able to tour the country to promote it, using the vast Workers' Party network, and went as far as meeting the Pope, other dignitaries, Nobel Prize winners, and the like. Now, being on the spotlight, she even befriended and became romantically involved with a famous Brazilian singer and music composer at a certain point. Of course, in his long walk in public life, spanning over 4 decades, Lula must have met and dealt with many opportunists, such as this person and her clique. None of them, however, were reckless to the point of giving wrong advice that would actually harm Lula's interest and, on top of it, seeking heavy sanctions against Lula's personal lawyers, whose crime was to give their client the right piece of advice. And now comes the second evidence that Duplo Expresso had been right all along. Lula was indeed betrayed by someone in his own party. 85-year-old journalist Mino Carta, the well-respected publisher of a weekly magazine, Carta Capital, who has been friends with former President Lula since the 1970s, wrote an editorial this week in which he enigmatically says, Lula is generous, a good friend to his friends, and among these, he didn't lack traitors. He didn't lack traitors. End of quote. We here at Duplo Expresso pointed to this as early as 2017, and following that, we were heavily attacked by some members of the Workers' Party, who accused us of bringing division to the party and of secretly being at the service of the right-wing coalition in power since the 2016 coup d'etat. Well, we had the audacity to name Lula's traitors when the treason was taking place, trying to prevent Lula from going to jail. Now, 1 year later, things become clearer, and some go as far as voicing the same idea. Better late than never. Unfortunately, Lula is already in jail at this point, for well over a year now, and it is very, very unlikely that he will ever leave it. In view of that, who, after all, has secretly been at the service of the right-wing coalition in power? The answer is the very same people who accused us. That is, the traitors within Lula's party, the Workers' Party. Wellington.
Thank you, Romulus. And now our political commentator, Samuel Gomes, will present his opinion on the dismantling of the Brazilian public universities promoted by Bolsonaro.
Let's talk a little bit about Brazil. On his first official trip to the United States, President Bolsonaro made a very strange statement to a president elected in a process of apparent democratic normalcy. He said, Brazil is not an open land where we intend to build things for our people. We have to deconstruct a lot and do a lot, for later we start doing new things. It had not been spoken by a guy with the characteristics of Bolsonaro, and during a dinner of the extreme American right in honor of the Brontosaurus Olavo de Carvalho, the enigmatic phrase could be excellent news. After all, Brazil under development is not a work of chance, but the result of 500-year planning. Brazil today is the result of Portuguese colonial spoliation, British financial plunder, slavery, the abyssal inequality between rich and poor and between regions of the country, and the cruel imperial dominion of the United States and its war machine. For this reason, the deconstruction of the conditions that bind us to underdevelopment is the first condition and an indispensable requirement for Brazil to embark on the marvelous adventure of development. So it's true that in order to build, it's necessary to deconstruct. First, by deconstructing the ties that bind us to the interests of financial capital in the central countries of the capitalist system under the command of the United States and its war machine. But it's not the deconstruction of the colonial, enslaved, and new colonial imperialist legacy that Bolsonaro and his team have obsessed. On the contrary, what Bolsonaro wants is to destroy the basis of an autonomous national development project. We have already spoken here of another destruction of the economic basis of the national development project, especially oil and gas chain and the jewel of the crown, the giant Petrobras. The most recent news is the attack on federal public universities, with more than 95,000 teachers distributed in 330 campuses in all regions of the country, responsible for more than 90% of all research and scientific production in Brazil. The new Minister of Education, Weintraub, declared war on public universities. Weintraub is the far-right activist, proclaimed disciple of Olavo de Carvalho, who distills hatred and resentment at the environment of plurality that marks university life. Brazilian society is astonished and terrified. But little by little, with each blow delivered by Bolsonaro government against all that may represent hope for future for Brazil, a molecule of reaction arises. The reproduction of those molecules may be forming a new social body, still weak and formless, but which at any moment with a redemptive Adam can rise and walk. This is what every Brazilian who is aware of the gravity and risks of the current historical moment is waiting for. After all, Brazil was not born, it grew and fought to disappear under the hybrid new colonialist war that seeks to reduce it to a mega warehouse of the world capitalist system. Brazil was born to shine under the sun of the new world.
That was Samuel Gomes there, our political commentator. This week, Duplo Expresso interviewed Ann-Margarethe Livh, a representative of Swedish think tank Internationella Arena, at the book launch of her new book, Vart är Europa på väg? Where is Europe heading to?
Duplo Expresso went to the book launch of Ann-Margarethe Livh's Vart är Europa på väg? Where is Europe going to? At the Solidaritethuset on Monday, May 6th. Ann-Margarethe is a representative of Swedish think tank Internationella Arena and gave us the following interview. Please tell me some reasons for reading your book.
The best reason I can give you is that to be able to change Europe, you must really know about the situation in Europe. And today, now, the situation is very, very dangerous. You have a very big gap between rich and poor. You have fascists. You have very undemocratic, movements going on, and not only because they are elected to the European Parliament, but they have influence in different countries. And that's why I think the thing today is not, am I going to vote in the European Parliament, the elections to the European Parliament, or what, or not. I think the important thing today is to understand what is happening in Europe and also to act in, for example, different social movements and so on. Try also to get people, informed about what's happening, and also to be able to discuss with other people, because I think today the knowledge about what's happening in Europe and in the European Union and in Europe, it's very low now, because we have not so many discussions, we have not so much engagement and so on, and so that's why I think people should read this book.
Okay, but can I say this situation is similar in different parts of the world? For example, in Latin America.
Oh, of course. Sometimes I think it's not similar, but the thing you can notice is that the left movement, political left parties in Europe and in Latin America, they have problems. The problems, they may be different, but that you see in Latin America some years ago, you had a real progress for the left movement. And you could also see after the Second World War in Europe the left, or maybe especially the Social Democrats, they were a progressive movement. I mean, they changed the society. I mean, in Sweden we got a society with social welfare, democracy, at least parliamentarian democracy, and now they are pressed back. And the same in Latin America. Of course, in Latin America, you have also the pressure from the United States. In Europe, you have not the open pressure from the United States, but you have, for example, the military pressure. I mean, if you look at Europe now, there is a lot of military influence, and that is the influence from the United States. So, I mean, you can see some similarities, really.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Ann-Margarethe Livh from Internationella Arena. Duplo Expresso will be back next week with more news and analysis about Brazil. Thank you for watching us, and goodbye. Thank you, Romulus Maya.
Thank you, Wellington. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in and joining us for another edition of Duplo Expresso. We say goodbye now with Duplo Expresso's new song of the month, In the Grey Morning, or in Portuguese, Na Manhã Cinza, with lyrics by our very own Wellington Calasans and music by composer Leonardo Lobo. Thank you and hope to see you next week. Goodbye.
Nasce o dia mais uma manhã cinza, na cidade grande, em algum bairro pobre, alguma mãe dá luz. Na manhã cinza, os dois choram, a criança por ter nascido, e a mãe é só desespero, é mais um filho pra cuidar. Na manhã cinza, na calçada as pessoas passam, criança e mãe ignorados, nenhum sorriso pra confortar. Como num recém-nascido, concentrado no próprio umbigo, passa o homem, passa a mulher, são piores do que cegos, pois a pior cegueira é a de quem não quer enxergar. Preferem ignorar. Mas a criança insiste, cresce sabendo que no jogo da vida não há tempo pra brincar. Mas a criança insiste, cresce sabendo que no jogo da vida não há tempo pra brincar. O jovem por ter nascido e a mãe por ter vivido. Mais um desespero, é mais um filho pra enterrar. Na manhã cinza, enquanto a morte acolhe mais um jovem. Na cidade grande, em algum bairro pobre, alguma mãe dá luz. Na manhã cinza, os dois choram.
Duplo Expresso.